So far, everything we did was rather suggestive, fast, not necessarily very clean and precise. So in this video, I will actually show you the process, how I would approach and layer all my different elements, so you have ultimate flexibility in designing your parts and putting all the details in. And we will use the same tools, the pencil, the marker, the airbrush, but make heavy use actually of the layers. Also, I will try to simulate a little bit more the shading of this model, because it's actually quite interesting to study. So when you're new to this, again, these are very good exercises, because you have to memorize how things look. If you just have a sheet of paper and you have to draw something, that's hard. Take a photo of something and start drawing over it. It will teach you a lot actually of what you have to pay attention for. So, for example, in our case, what can we first observe that's interesting? Let me make a new layer. So we see there's a small highlight there, very soft, but then we have a burning highlight there, and there's a burning highlight that goes down there. But to the bottom, that highlight starts to fade out. And I set up the material so that the blue parts are more reflective. If we take a look at the bottom, because the bottom part is rounded, you see this is actually getting darker, because it's a more kind of, it's an overhang surface, so it has actually more shadowing. The right side, you can see here, this area is a little bit brighter, then followed quite a dark area, then some highlight, then it gets a little bit darker, then a really bright highlight, and then it gets kind of like medium dark again. So it's good to try to take a look at all the different values. And we can see that here as well, it's kind of like a gradient. This color, this is very broad, bright, broad. So kind of like one. So this is actually 1, 2, and 3 colors, and then later we put the highlight over it. And if we take a look at the gray, it's pretty much the same. One color, a dark, and then a medium, and then a highlight over it. Okay, so let's take a look at the underlay work I created. So very gentle, I tried to retrace all the elements that are important. This time I would like to have a technically more accurate rendering. So again, with your underline work, very gentle pen pressure. You want to keep them in the background and work over them. So I will actually start first, maybe with this gray part. Okay, so let's go to the airbrush, and actually let's do it this way. So I will actually rename this, actually, let's say gray fill, and later I will have a gray highlight. I need to pick the color, so let's take a look which grays we have. This is actually more maybe a brown gray. Let's see, how is this? So maybe for the medium, that is good. And let's go for the back. How is that? Yeah, okay, good. So what you want to do, either you use a gradient tool or you use an airbrush. We will do exactly the same again. So try to brush nice and even, put a coat down. And actually I will hide this model. Okay, so you can see it there. Then we can select a color that's maybe a tick brighter. And that goes for the front area here. And then we blend these two together. Okay. Draw nicely over the edges, because later we have to clean these parts up. So here I will actually go quite a lot over it. And there we have, with the airbrush, use actually transparency so you can layer and blend them nicely. So here I want to have a transition a little bit more. Okay, so and we saw that there was a little bit of a dark area. So maybe here, there, one line, dark. Okay, and then now this is the trick. And we start actually cleaning all this stuff up. There, number one. Let's go to there, clean this up, nice and quick strokes. We don't have to get perfect, but we need to be able to hide our eraser lines at least under where later we will have the object contour lines. So let's clean up this area. And getting close. Oop, I drew over it. Okay, a little bit of cleanup there. Perfect. And that area I could clean up more, but I just leave it for the moment. Let's rotate it this way. And then also here, I need to clean this up. So in whatever program you use, I use here at the moment Concepts. You can also, and that's actually what I would advise, create yourself a color swatch. So like what I started doing at the beginning, try to make some color mixes, see if the tones are correct, so that you can always go back to the same values. Okay, now let's take a look. That doesn't look too bad. Okay. For a first quick test, that's okay. So now we have to work on the blue part. So what I will do is I will make myself a new layer. And for example, we call this one blue fill. So you want to really separate all your different objects, or not objects, but layers into different paint layers, so you can later manipulate each one individually. Let's go to the airbrush, and we need a blue tone. Let's see what we have that could be close. That's a little bit too, that's not the correct tone, but that's fine. The saturation is pretty close. So what I will do now is I will actually go ahead and just paint the whole object. Okay, so this is just my base. Okay, well, that looks good. Let's actually hide this one. Let's make a new layer. Because what I will do now is, let's see, that has too much red in it. So I need kind of like a darker blue. Let's see if I have something that maybe can function here a little bit better. Maybe this. I'm lacking, unfortunately, the tone to match it perfectly. So what I will do instead is maybe with a gray actually go over it. I could actually open the color mixer. I might not actually do this. Just want to stay with the copy colors. Let's see how this one goes over it. Yeah, a little bit. But this actually might match well this corner here, because maybe you memorize there's a little bit of light that happens there, no? Okay, so tick down there. Okay, and I will use simply a gray. Let's take a look at the value. So it could be quite dark. I could actually do this on a new layer. Maybe actually adjust this color. So let's go to here, and I would like the brightness to be maybe 30%. Yeah, there we have it. Okay, good. This is actually a very small highlight, so I have to adjust my airbrush a little bit. So I make one big stroke over it. And again, the trick is when you do these things, try to make nice big strokes over your objects, because your start and end later we will clip away. Anyway, down here, maybe you remember there's actually a little bit of a shadowing, and I can also add a little bit of shadowing there. So you see I draw next to it and just push a little bit of airbrush, kind of like dust on that part. Okay, so now we can go ahead and, for example, start cleaning all the stuff up. So there are multiple ideas now. I could actually try to clean up each individual layer. Or if you want to, we could also merge actually all these layers. Hold on, there I put somewhere an eraser down, so I will just here merge all those together. Okay, good. It's up to you how you want to work. So in Photoshop, similar to here, we blend it all together. The advantage is we only have to once clean stuff up. The disadvantage is you can't really work on each layer individually. But it's kind of like left pocket, right pocket. And then, for example, down here, clean this up a little bit. There. And then also up here, we have to clean this up and make a nice transition so that the blue spray paint doesn't blend over. Nice even strokes. Okay, and let's get rid of that. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have. So I want to hide this part. Let's call this one blue fill. Not too bad. By accident I deleted some of my lines down there. Okay, so unfortunately I put a little bit of a silly brush down there, so let's see if maybe I can select that brush. No, that's not it. Did this one? Nope. That one. Yeah, that one is it. You are not welcome. Okay, so I would have to spray paint a little bit back over everything there. Let's make this bigger again and blend this part back. Okay, and again, nice big strokes so it doesn't look cloudy or so. Goody. So let's talk a little bit about the highlight. So we make a new layer, and now we can decide if we do a highlight with white, which can be very, very strong, or maybe we will go with a really bright blue. See, that actually might look better. So let's go to this. And this is actually still too big. Let's adjust the brush a little bit more. And let's try to see. So to the bottom it blends out. So I press more at the top, and then to the bottom I release pressure. Maybe a little bit of highlight over the gray area. So there actually now you see that doesn't really look good. So I will blend it up there and then erase it, because later we have to put something white over it. So let's do that, because I have the same brush size there, and let's select white and there. Okay, and then you see I can actually add a little bit more, and with the added highlight make this a little bit more softer. Okay, so if I might also have to here then obviously clean this up so it doesn't blend over my blue part. There. And let's go to whatever we have there. Okay. See, it's getting some detail. So if we want to put a burning highlight over it, maybe let's make another layer. I forgot to name all these different layers. So let's do this quickly. This should be burning highlight. Okay, there. So we want to have the airbrush again. White. Let's make this small. And maybe at the center, just a line. That's not strong enough. So let's maybe make this a little tick smaller, more covering, and let's see. Yeah, maybe like this. Yeah, that's getting to somewhere. Okay. So that's basically, honestly, the step-by-step how you have to work. Make things efficient for yourself. So you work with different layers. So in case you mess up one detail, you just clean up that layer and redo only that small part instead of having to redraw everything. So right now I could go ahead and, for example, let's say we call this one mesh lines. There, good. And you see there are some gaps where that stuff overlaps. Not very good, but that's fine, because that we will actually simply hide with contour lines we then will put over it. there and there. Let's get close to it. And there. A little bit higher maybe. Okay, so whoops. So where we have more shadow, I put more black down, and then where it gets to the highlight, it gets a little bit brighter. Okay, let's say there is a material separation, so we want to have some highlights, so the ellipse has to be a tiny tick bigger so I can put down the highlight. Let's select white. There. And then now obviously to the back there's less light, so the line disappears. Zoom out and look at that, how fantastic that looks. So also you see here, I did not do one stroke. I did multiple strokes, and the main reason for that is this way you can make it look a little bit more hand-drawn. While all the time here right now I actually use guides to just get the stuff cleaner. And the problem is with this type of tracing, then it can kind of look stale or boring. But then how we trace it again is another question. So let's continue that. Snap is off. Okay, let's put this one to there. Okay. And let's get the big ellipse, our trusted replacement for French curves. And again, just multiple lines, so you give these lines a little bit of texture and life. They don't look so boring and alone. This has to be bigger. No, I want this one to blend in there. Okay, let's rotate. Whoops. See, it's slightly coming. Maybe when this should be a contour line, bang, a little bit more pressure. Be bold. Make a decision. Don't be afraid. And then we have to do the bottom part. There. Oh, this looks pretty good. Okay. There. A little bit of a tiny ellipse fragment sticks over. That's pretty nice. That actually will make the drawing look a little bit more believable and manual. Then here we have a small mesh line. Zip. Okay. Okay, and then, well, basically the rest would be step by step continuing it and then see how we can refine it. So we have this one highlight. I think these are the normal highlights. So highlight gray, if I'm not mistaken. And I would like to add a little bit more of brighter gray airbrush wise in this area. So not white, obviously. Let's see what type of gray I could use that fits. I think mainly I used some sort of a brown or a cool gray. Maybe this. Let's draw over it. Yeah, that's okay. A little bit of a bigger brush, less saturation or flow, and just then draw next to it, so we sprinkle a little bit of gray on it. Okay, and then we can clean this up. Okay, Let's zoom out a little bit. You see we put a little bit of a highlight touch on it. I could maybe have added a little bit more. Okay, good. So if your program actually supports some sort of a steady line, so with steady line I mean when you draw a line, you see how Concepts, for example, smoothes it out. I could also do 0, so if my hand shakes, it's really the line. And I can also draw straight lines this way. You can then, if you want to, also do most of the stuff simply by hand. There. There. And let's release the pressure a little bit because I have to do ellipses now. So up here, I compress really hard, flow in, and then and the same there. Go down, leave it there. Just the software unfortunately kinked this a little bit. So you can do that as well, but if you want to keep these things more believable in terms of cleaner, now just use your ellipse templates. Because essentially the time it takes to draw the ellipses all the time perfect, and then you didn't hit the angle right and you restart and you clean it up. Honestly, then just place the ellipse. That takes a little bit of time, but then at least you know it is exactly the way you want. Okay, so also here again, a little bit of highlight, so we make that ellipse a tick bigger so we can draw parallel to it. Ching ching. There. Something goes back here to the end. Just a little bit. Come on. There, a little bit too much pressure. I will just leave it for the moment. Good. And if you want to touch it up, then either with a liquid pen style again, where you might have a highlight, put it down or there. That's one way. So the last step I would like to focus on actually on the blue tip. So let's see, where's my blue fill. So this is blue fill. Really make use of naming your layers so you understand what you do, because at one point if you have 20 layers or so, good luck memorizing everything all the time. It can get really confusing. See the size, okay, maybe a tick bigger. Oops, that was saturation. So the color, I didn't actually memorize the colors. Let's see what we have here. Not the same. Oh, doesn't matter. I will simply do this in one run. Just over colorize it, and then I use other colors to replace that. Okay, good. Quick cleanup here at the bottom. And also there, maybe. Okay, good. Then we know from the back it's actually a little bit darker, so I will use here a different color and blend this over it. And there, because I want to try something out that's a little bit different there, and maybe a little bit here at the front there. Okay, and maybe do we have something even a tick darker? There. So a little bit of darkness there. Okay, and then maybe the top cap I actually shade this dark way as well. Good. Again, another quick cleanup. And also on the left and right. Good. So, highlights, burning highlights, and highlight gray, burning highlights there. Zip. Let's make this one actually below. So that would be the highlight actually for the blue top part. So again, we can either select a really bright blue value or white. Maybe this time. And when you do these doodles, seriously, maybe sometimes just experiment. So you can see what could work, what maybe does not work. If you only go with a certain element, you might not make an interesting discovery. So here I put a little bit of highlight on this rounding. And don't memorize exactly know how the piece looks like. So yeah, okay, good. So this whole area here. Oh, I didn't paint on the correct layer. There. Okay. Clean up. And let's see, where are my lines? Highlight gray. I put these things to there. Well, this actually I will bring up. There. Okay. Because before I continue, I would like to bring back some of my contour lines. So ellipse up there, correct angle, down, there, okay. Again, a little bit line forward and backwards, so it's not so uniform. We can maybe go to the blue fill and also clean some of this stuff up. Okay, now I have to bring back a little bit of that mesh line. So there is, for example, something coming down there a little bit. And then there is a smaller ellipse on top. A little bit there. This ellipse right now is 100% correct. I simply try to sketch this one in, eyeballed a little bit, because I know later I will have a nice mesh line there. There will be an arc there. The back we don't really see it. At one point we will also have here a line. This then goes down, and then there we have a small line there. This one actually will go a little bit this direction. This will go to the vanishing point. So going back to the burning highlights, that should be on top of all the colored shading, and I can maybe go back to my favorite tool, the blue pencil. Let's increase the size a little bit, because I feel like that is a really great way to massage the highlights here a little bit better. Should fan out to the back. Here actually it will get much stronger. Then there it fades out. There. So a little bit coarser. Let's take a look. No? There you see it. Not too bad. Okay, and that's kind of like the process. Really, it doesn't matter what program you do it in. It's everywhere exactly the same. So with layering, pick yourself kind of like a medium color, a shadow color, a highlight color, and maybe a second medium color. And that's really all you need then to shade your objects. And then either with a soft highlight, like the airbrush, we can make something look like it is actually kind of like a matte surface. Or when we, for example, put down a very strong highlight, so sharp edges, let's see if we can quickly simulate that. We can maybe give it the feeling of this is actually a reflective, high glossy surface. And then pair black lines to bright lines. Not all highlights have to be white. There can also be a really bright color of what's below it. The pairing of the white to the black line gives you the feeling of separation lines and rounded edges. When you draw lines, don't necessarily draw them all uniform. Do a small variation with pen pressure. If you don't have a pen pressure, simply draw multiple times over it so it gets actually more saturated. And then this way you can actually trace a drawing and still make it look a little bit more hand-drawn.